Hey, it's Karen here from the Stitch Sessions. Welcome to another fun crochet tutorial. So today is actually a bonus video in our It's in the Bag crochet series. So if you're new here, every year I do a crochet series based on a theme. And usually I release a new video based on that theme at the beginning of every month. But since Easter's just around the corner and it's not quite the 1st of April yet, I did want to squeeze this one in because I already have a project coming up for you guys next week that is going to be April's bag project. So at the last minute, I had some leftover yarn and I thought what better way to use up some scrap yarn than to make a sweet little Easter basket. Now, I was truly playing a game of crochet chicken. Some of you call it yarn chicken. When you have just a little bit of yarn left and you hope and pray that it's enough to finish a full project. And I have to say, spoiler alert, I won another game of crochet chicken. So I think I don't have it with me, but I have like a little teeny tiny left of this mauvey color. So in the past, I've done a few Easter baskets in the past, and they've all been kind of on the smallish size, like they fit nicely in the palm of my hand, but they're all slightly a little bit different. And in fact, I have a whole playlist all on kind of Easter themed types of crochet projects that you can do. So I'll leave a link for that in the description box down below. There are 2 other little mini baskets that I've done. Now with this one, you can size it up. I didn't really talk too much about it throughout the tutorial because I was focused on just making sure I had enough yarn for this one. But basically you just crochet a circle and then build the body up, and then you can add a handle. So if you wanted to make a larger crochet basket, you can absolutely do that. So in this project, I only did 4 rounds of a circle, but you could absolutely go up as high as, 8 or 10 rounds and then start to build the body of your basket. And the principle and the method is the same. In fact, I have another playlist called Bags and Baskets where I've done some slightly larger baskets. And that might give you some other hints too if you're looking to make one that's a little bit larger. So there's going to be lots of links for you in the description box. But this one is just using a double crochet stitches. So if you're new, you can absolutely do this. If you've never crocheted a circle before, so this might be your first time, you have to crochet the bottom first, which is a circle. And I have a really great tutorial crochet lesson for you on how to crochet circles. And of course, I have a link to that in the description box down below. So basically, you just crochet a circle and then you stop decreasing to create the body. And then we just used single crochets to create the handle. And it came out so sweet. And I had just a tiny bit left of this mauvey type color yarn. So I took a risk and went for adding a little trim at the top, and then I added this sweet little detail, and I'll put some closer graphics of the basket so you can see it up close. And lo and behold, it came out super cute. Now right now I've got some cough candies in here just to fill it and a few little chocolates. So I still have to get my Easter eggs, but this would make a really sweet little add-on to another gift that you're giving. Or sometimes, even if you have things like teenagers in your life, or I have a young lady in my life who she's now away in university, and she always appreciates these sweet little kind of baskety gifts. She can plop this on her desk, and when she feels like it, she can grab a little chocolate when she's studying. So I think all age ranges can appreciate this sweet little gift basket. So I say, let's dive in. This is going to be a bonus tutorial in our series. So if you want to come back to this later, this will be included in the It's in the Bag crochet series playlist, but I'm also going to put it in our basic playlist that's called Bags and Baskets. So there's 2 ways that you can reference this. So without further ado, let's get stitching. Okay, so the yarn I'm going to be using is some leftover mercerized cotton. This is, like I said, a great scrap project. And this is the 24/7 cotton yarn, which I really love for doing these types of projects. And this is a little bit left over that I have for a project that's coming up next week, so stay tuned for that. So in case you're wondering, this color is called a crew. It's like a creamy color, really, really nice. And then I had some of this one left over. It's like this mauvey pink color, also from the 24/7 cotton line. It is considered a medium 4-weight yarn. I think it's kind of in between a lightweight 3 and a medium 4. It's pretty condensed. So they recommend, the hook size they recommend is a 4mm hook, but today I'm going to be using a 4.5mm hook. And it's also known as a G or a size 7 if you go by those sizes. And I just want my stitches to sit just a little bit looser than what they're calling for here. So I always like to take some liberties with my hook size once in a while. Okay, so the other thing you'll need is a yarn needle to weave in your ends at the end. And you'll need a handy pair of scissors, of course, to snip your yarn. Now, the amount of yarn, you won't need a lot. Like I said, these are some leftovers. And this skein comes in skeins of 100 grams, which gives you 186 yards or 170 meters. You will not need nearly that much to do this little basket. So any scraps lying around will work out great. So let's get to it. Okay, so we're going to begin with a cinch circle, which is also known as a magic ring. And so what you're going to do is you're going to wrap your yarn around, I like to do my 2 fingers here, until it crosses, and then I insert my hook and I pull a loop up. Now this is just like if you're going to do a slip knot. The difference is that we don't want this circle to cinch shut. So once you pull up this loop, you just need to kind of hang in there and chain 1 to secure your circle, okay? If you are super new, you can absolutely just do chain 4 and then slip stitch to the beginning to create the ring. I do have a really nice, clear, concise, step-by-step tutorial on how to create your cinch circle. So if you need a little bit more practice, I'll leave a link to that in the description box down below. But hopefully this was kind of clear for you. So we're creating a ring here that we're going to work into to create the base of our little basket here. So we want to now chain another chain and then 1 more. So we've got 3 chains in total. This will count, or this gives us the height of a double crochet stitch. Now in this project, I'm not going to count this as anything. This is just here to give us the height of our stitch, okay? So now what we want to do is we want to place 12 double crochets inside this ring. So you'll yarn over and insert into the circle and pull up a loop. And then you just resolve like a typical double crochet stitch. Now, if you're more experienced, then you're going to zip through this, and I'll leave some timestamps down below so you can just click to where you would like to go. But this is round number 1, and like I said, we're just going to continue placing double crochets into this ring until you get a total of 12 double crochet stitches. It's going to feel a little wonky at the beginning, but just hang in there. It will stabilize itself as we go along. Okay, so I have now placed 12 double crochets into that circle. And now what I want to do is I want to take that tail and I just want to pull on it. I probably actually should have reminded you all that when you're working into the ring, you do want to work over that tail. And that way you can pull it at the end and cinch your circle shut. And I like using a cinch circle because it really closes in the center of your circle. Okay, so now you can see that it's formed a nice circle there. And what you want to do now is find the very first stitch. So we're not looking at that chain 3, we're looking at the actual stitch. So there's the first actual double crochet, and here is the top of that stitch, and we're just going to slip stitch to join our round. And round 1 is complete, so we have 12 stitches. Now, for the base of this bag, instead of working into the stitches, I'm going to be working in the spaces between the stitches. So this would be the stitch, picking up there, but I am going to work between the stitches. So I'm going to go below this little part here. So if you go into the stitch, there's still this horizontal loop here, I'm going below that, okay? So what I want to do now is I just want to slip stitch my way over to that space. So that's where I start out of, just like that. And now we're going to chain 3. And this time, this chain 3 will count as a double crochet, okay? So for round number 2, we're going to increase the number of our stitches, and this helps us to keep our circle flat, okay? So what we want to do is we want to place a double crochet into the same space. So since our chain 3 counts as a double crochet, we now have 2 double crochets in this space, and that is what you're going to do all the way around. So now I would move over to the next space between the 2 posts here, and I'm going to place 1 double crochet, and then I'm going to go back in and place a 2nd double crochet. So we're basically following the rules of crocheting a circle, okay? So again, into the next one, I'm going to place 2 double crochets. So you're going to do this all the way around until you come back to the beginning again, okay? Okay, so I've come to the end of round number 2, and I have a total of 24 stitches. So we had 12 to begin with, and then we placed an increase in between each stitch, and now I have 24. So I'm going to slip stitch to join my round now, but this time, because the chain 3 does count as a stitch, I'm going to find the 3rd chain, and into this chain is where I'm going to slip stitch to join my round here. Okay, and as always, if you're ever unsure, just count backwards and make sure you have 24 stitches. So your circle looks like that. Okay, let's go on to round number 3. We're going to continue to increase our stitches, okay? So what I want to do is I always want to start off by slip stitching over into this space. That way we can continue along the same theme. And then I will chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the next space. So this will count as a double crochet. We're going to go into the next space and we're going to place 2 double crochets. So we're going to place an increase there. Anytime we place 2 stitches into one, that's an increase. Now into the next space, we're only going to place 1 double crochet. So whereas we increased in every space, in round 3, we're going to increase in every 2nd space. So we had a double crochet here, that's the chain 3. Then we had an increase, 2 double crochets, and then we had 1. So that means the next one is 2. Okay. And this is the method that you're going to repeat all the way around. So the next one is 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, all the way around. At the end of round number 3, you should have 36 stitches. And when you get to the end, you just want to slip stitch to the top of that chain 3 to join your round. So I'm going to finish my round number 3, and then I'll meet up with you to start round number 4. Okay, so I've completed round number 3 and I have 36 stitches at the end of my round. It might want to start, because we're working between the stitches, it might want to start to ripple just a little bit, but not to worry. Just hand block it with a little bit of your hand heat and you'll be okay. We just have 1 more round to go. Well, actually 2 more rounds to go, but technically with the double crochets, we only have 1 more round to go. So what we're going to do is I slip stitched into the next space here. We're going to chain 3 as usual. And now this time we're going to increase into every 3rd stitch. So in the previous round, it was every 2nd. So if you ever to work on circles, and I do have a crochet lesson all about circles, I'll leave a link to that down below as well. The main idea is that to make it bigger, with every round, you increase the number of stitches between all of your increases. So that way it keeps expanding and keeps the circle flat. Now, if that's too much information for you right now, don't worry about it. Just follow exactly what I'm going to show you. So this counts as 1 double crochet. Now we'll go into the next space and place another double crochet. So these are 2 individual stitches. And now into the next space, we're going to place our increase, which is 2 double crochets. So there's 1 and there is 2. Okay, so the pattern or the method here is 1, 1, and 2. 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, all the way around. So I'm going to do that again. In here I have 1 double crochet, and then I have 1 double crochet in the next one. And then in the third one, I'm going to place an increase. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. You're getting lots of practice on your double crochet stitches, that's for sure. Okay, so you're going to do that all the way to the end, and then you will slip stitch to join, and then I'm going to meet up with you and show you that little trim we're going to do just before we start to work up the body of our basket. Okay, so round 4 is now complete, and I have 48 stitches. So I'm just kind of hand blocking it a little bit for it to sit nice and flat. And this is basically the base of our basket. Okay, so it's pretty much, and this is what it looks like on the back. Okay, and so this part is done. Now, I'm going to add a little accent at the end of this round before we start to build up the body of our little basket here. And this is where this great little color comes in handy. And I think I should have enough to do this trim. So here we slip stitch to join, but really what we want to do is we're going to undo that. And when we slip stitch, so I'm still going to go into that stitch, but instead of picking up my cream color here, I am now going to pick up my new color. Okay, so I'm going to pick up this new color and I'm going to pull that through to slip stitch. And this is going to give me a nice clean end and start to this next round. Now, if you're newer to crochet and this is a bit fiddly for you, you can absolutely just snip the yarn, fasten off, and then just leave that tail, and you can weave that tail in afterwards, and then place a slip knot on your hook and start with a new color just to make it easier. I'm just going to use this method because very shortly I'm going to pick back up my cream color and I just don't want there to be a few knots there. So that is the reason for that. So you may just have to tug on it a little bit so that it's nice and secure. And I throw that tail over, and now I'm going to chain 1. And what I want to do here in this round is I want to place a single crochet. Now I'm going to actually work into the stitch here. So right where I slip stitched, I am going to single crochet. Okay, and for now I'm just going to drop this cream color to the side here. So I'm just going to pretend like it's not there and just work with my mauve color here. There we go. And so into every stitch you are going to place a single crochet. And so at the end of this round, you should still have 48 stitches. So you can see I'm working into the stitch and not between the posts here. Okay, so I have finished technically the 5th round of single crochets, and you can see how that just gives it a really nice clean lined border, which I really like. Now, I am not going to need this color now again for a long while. So what I'm going to do is I am going to slip stitch to join this round. Okay, so when I slip stitch, what I want to do is instead of going in through the front, because of the technique I'm going to use, I'm going to go in through the back, and then I'm going to wrap my hook around it. And then I'm going to insert my hook back out the back on the other side. And from there, I'm going to pull that through and pull it through and through to slip stitch. Okay, and that way all of the purple mauve stays facing the front. And this will come in handy because of the technique we're going to be using is a back post stitch. So now we're going to go on to round number 6 and we're going to return to double crochet. So I'm going to chain 3 and we are going to work around the posts of these single crochet stitches. So we're going to yarn over as usual, but instead of inserting into the stitch from the front, we're going to go in from the back. So I'm going to insert my hook from the back, and then I just push it back out around the other side. This is where I will pull my loop through, and then I resolve like a regular double crochet stitch. Okay, so we are working around the back portion of the post here. So I'll do that again. So I'm going to yarn over. So I just worked this one. Now I'm going to insert my hook here from the back and to the front, and now I'm going to go from the front to the back on the other side. I will bring up my loop, and then I will finish the double crochet as usual. Okay, so one more time. I'm going to come in through the back, and you can see these two have already been worked because you can see that the beige color coming through. So I'm going to come in through the back and then out through the front on the other side. Okay, and then double crochet. And why I like doing this technique is because then the bottom of your basket sits nicely, and it creates a nice little defining ridge for your project here. Okay, now if you are a little newer and you're struggling with kind of finding where to place your hook, you can absolutely just go into the regular stitch, but I encourage you to try pushing yourself a little bit. So again, I come in through the back, then go to the other side. You can see that it's showing itself there, and out through the front. Okay, and then double crochet. So you're going to do that all the way around. You should still have 48 stitches, and as you can see, now this really wants to curl up, which is exactly what we want for our basket. Okay, so go all the way around, and then I'll meet up with you at the end here to talk about further rounds. Okay, so I've come to the end here, and remember how there was that funny little gap there? That is all going to come together now. So I have 47 stitches. I need 48. So I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to go in behind where this chain 3 is, right there, and I'm just going to wrap a little bit around that, come through, and double crochet. So it's going to kind of snuggle right up next to this chain 3. Then at the top of the chain 3, I will slip stitch to join my yarn, or join my round, I should say. And so round number 6 is complete. You can see it's really curling up at this point. And now you've got this pretty little ridge along the bottom. Now what I am going to do, and I don't have it on me at the moment, is I am going to cut out a piece of cardboard in a circle and place it on the bottom. And this is just going to give the basket a little bit more sustenance, because I am giving it to a little person. I know what's going to happen. It's going to flop around all over the place. So I'm just going to put it at the bottom. In fact, I'm going to cover it with a little bit of fabric, which I'll show you at the end once I finish the basket. And I think that'll just be a nice little kind of finishing touch for the bottom of your basket. So if you're not liking the fact that it's a little bit wonky, like this is actually not bad at all, considering that it's, you know, we're making this out of yarn, but it is that mercerized cotton, so it does kind of hold a little bit. But I think adding that little piece of cardboard at the bottom will just give it that finishing touch. So we'll talk about that at the end. But now you can see that we are on our way up in terms of the body of our bag. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to continue working double crochet stitches. So you will always chain 3. Okay. And then you're going to work into the actual stitch. So we're just going to go right in through the top here and double crochet. So nice and easy, 1 double crochet into each and every single stitch. You're going to do that all the way around, and you should still continue to have 48 stitches for each round. Okay, so you can see that looks like that. So you're going to continue to do this until you've completed round number 9. So this is round number 7. So remember, this mauve was round 5. This was round 6. We're on round 7, and then you need to do round 8 and 9. So that'll give us 4 rounds of height. And then once you're done that, I'll meet back up with you and we can talk about a little finishing touch I want to do up at the top part of our basket. And this is before we do our handle. So go ahead and finish these next few rounds and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so I have completed round number 9. So now you can see my basket has some height. And we just need to add a handle, but before we do that, I am going to add an interesting little detail along the top here. So for our final round here, which is round number 10, we are going to use the crossed stitch. So I'm going to start by chaining 3, 1, 2, and 3. So this is going to count as a double crochet. Now, last week you saw, actually no, 2 weeks ago, if you saw my stitch tutorial on the crossed double crochet stitch, this technique is used in that stitch. This stitch is just the cross stitch because we're not stacking it with single crochets. So you're going to start with your chain 3. It will count as a double crochet. And then what we're going to do is we're going to place a double crochet in the stitch behind this stitch. So instead of going to the next stitch here, we're going to go to the stitch behind it, which is right here. So I'm going to insert my hook and pull up a loop and just resolve like a regular double crochet. And the effect that you get is this double crochet is crossing over that first chain 3. So that's our first crossed stitch. So let's do that again. We are going to skip the next stitch, and into the following stitch you'll place a double crochet, and then you go back to the stitch that you skipped and do your second double crochet. So you insert your hook and then you pull up your loop. So that is what crosses over the first stitch. Okay, so you have something that looks like that. So now you have 2 stitches that are crossed over. So one more time, I'm going to skip the next one into the following stitch. I'll double crochet, and then I'll go back to that skip stitch right here, and I'll double crochet. That's just a sweet little detail I wanted to add to the edge here. And if we're lucky enough to have enough of this yarn, I still have a little bit of it left, I'm going to add another little detail at the very, very end. For now, this is round number 10. We have 48 stitches, which is perfect. You need an even number of stitches to do this effect. So you're going to do that all the way around, and then I'll meet up with you at the very end here to show you how we're going to continue from there. Okay, so I'm just working on my last crossed stitch, and of course the count came out perfectly. That was my last stitch. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the top of that chain 3, and I will slip stitch to join round number 10. And look at how sweet that detail is. Just gives it a little something. Okay. So now we've got pretty much the body of our basket done. And now what we want to do is create the handle, and I'm really down to the wire, so I'm hoping I'm going to have just enough. Now, before we do that, this is a perfect opportunity. Remember how I said I wanted to put something a little bit more sturdy on the bottom? You can either, cut a bit of cardboard, like everybody's got Amazon boxes lying around. So I was going to do that, but actually I found in my paper stash this fantastic cardstock, and it's pretty sturdy. So this is what I'm going to use. So first, you've got to trace your circle. I still have to weave in my ends here. So what I did actually is I found this glass, and I just wanted to kind of see if it would fit in the bottom. And actually it fits pretty perfectly. So you can see that the bottom sits nicely. So I'm going to use this glass as a template, and I'm going to trace out the circle from here. Now I could just roughly trace out the circle with the bottom of the basket and then trim as I go, but I think this is a much quicker way to do it. And there we go. And then all you're going to do is you are going to take your scissors and cut out your circle. So the reason why I'm saying to do this now is because it's much easier to insert it as opposed to once you've got the handle. It can, you know, it can still be done, but it's just a little bit more awkward. And especially if you were going to put that cup in there. Oops, I'm doing a terrible cutting job here. Okay. Whoa, I am horrendously cutting this circle. Okay, well, it somewhat looks like a circle. So now we just put it in the bottom here. Perfect. I love it. Actually, see, that's all it needed. It just needed a little something to keep it nice and steady on the bottom. And now you're good to go. Okay, so from here, now let's talk about creating our handle. Okay, so just for now, I'll take that out while I work on this. Okay, so I've counted out. Okay, so what we want to do is let's slip stitch over to this space where those two stitches are crossed. So I'm going to start from there, just like that. And all you're going to do is we're going to chain one long chain that's going to be able to arch and go over to the other side. So I'm going to chain a total of 35. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and 35. Okay, so then I'm just going to kind of place it and see how I like it. So you kind of want your handle to be somewhat proportionate to the basket. So if you make it too short, then it's really like not very functional to put things in. If you also make it too long, like let's say it was double this length, then it's not really a basket. It becomes more like a purse. So I was kind of experimenting, and I think 35 stitches is a nice length. You could go maybe even as high as 40, but I think this will be good. So now what you want to do is you want to find the other side that's symmetrical to this side where it's coming out of. So a nice easy way to do that is, as you can see, well, first of all, you can count, right? So we know we have 48 stitches. So you can count from here and count 24, and then you know it would be exactly symmetrical. The other really easy way to do it, like you can see how I'm doing it now, is where this side is coming out of, just pinch it there, and then follow the other bend right here, and it sits perfectly equal to the other side. And if you don't believe me, experiment and then count back, okay? So for me, this is nice and simple. So I'm gonna get to this side here, and then all I'm gonna do is I am going to slip stitch into the center of this X right here. So I'm gonna insert into that space and slip stitch. So this will be the base of my handle, okay? And make sure that your handle's not twisted, your chain is okay. There we go, okay, yeah, I really like that length. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to build a little bit of width to our handle. And again, I've only got this much left, and the goal is to really just use what I've got. So here's hoping. So now what we're gonna do is we are going to slip stitch over to this next stitch here, just like that. And then we're going to turn our work, and we are going to single crochet into this chain. Now, as you can see, I'm facing the back of the chain. So what I want to do is I just want to make sure that it's not twisting in any other way. And I am going to insert through the back. Okay, so I just want to make sure it's not twisting. And now starting with the very first chain coming out of the slip stitch is right here. It's a little tight, but you just have to kind of help it through. And I'm just going to single crochet. Just like that. And then I'm going to go down the chain, and I'm going to place one single crochet into every single chain until I get to the other side. Okay, so the idea is we want to create a little bit of width so that our handle has some strength and a little bit of girth as well here. So I'm just doing a few. There we go. So you can see now it's looking a little bit more substantial. Right now, this is the back side, so that's okay. So we're kind of working along the inside. So your handle will naturally want to, because of the way we slip stitch, your handle will naturally want to sit this way, which is no big deal. I actually think this side looks pretty cool. Okay, so we're going to do that all the way to the end, and then we're going to single crochet on our way back. But when we get there, I'll show you how we're going to do it, and I'm hoping that this is going to be enough. So I will finish my first row of my handle, and then I'll meet you guys on the other side. Okay, so I've made my way down to the end here, and I've got one stitch left. So I'm going to single crochet into that stitch. Now I want to be careful so that my handle here isn't twisted. So here it sits nice and flush. So from here, I don't want to turn it this way and slip stitch because you see it's going to twist that. So I am going to go right here, and we started in the center of that X. So I'm just going to go to this little stitch here. I'm going to slip stitch, and then I'm going to slip stitch over to the next one. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn my work. So now you can see it's sitting nice and flush. And now I'm just going to work my way back over again. So I'm just going to go into that first stitch. Now this is the slip stitch, so I don't go into there. I go into the next one, and then I just single crochet like I did before into each and every single stitch until I get to the other side of my handle. Okay, so you can see that is a fairly nice thickness, and it sits nicely over these two little X'd stitches there. Okay, so we're going to do that all the way to the other side. Okay, so I'm coming up to the end here, and now I remembered why initially I was going to go on the other side, because if we're only working the handle only on that side, it's going to fall off center from where the handle should be. So you see the thickness is only going this way. So we have to make sure that it's evenly positioned on the basket. So I'm going to do one more round going back this way. And so just at the end here, this is a quick fix, an easy fix. So I'm going to go into this last stitch here, single crochet, okay, and then I'm going to slip stitch into this stitch here. So I'm not going to go into this one, I'm going to go into the next one here. That's going to anchor down that single crochet really nicely. And now what I want to do, I'm just going to turn my basket a little bit, and I'm going to slip stitch my way back over this way. So I'm just going to insert my hook here anywhere there's a loop that I can get into, slip stitch, and then I'm going to go into this one here, just like that. Okay, and you see a little bit of slip stitches, but this is going to get covered up in my final little detail I'm going to add, which I'll show you in just a bit. This is all I've got left, guys. Let's hope I make it to the end. So now I'm on the other side, and now I'm going to work one single crochet all the way back. Okay, so I'm just going to insert into this very first stitch here. Now this is the bottom of that chain, so it's actually only going to be one little loop here. So single crochet, one into each, and you know the drill. Okay, I am coming to the end here. And now I'm just going to go into this stitch here on the other side of the X, and I'm going to slip stitch to join and fasten off. And this is what I've got left of the yarn. So, I mean, I always like it if I can go right down to the end, but this is pretty good. So I think I'm doing very well on this game of crochet chicken. So now You've got a nice handle with some sustenance here. I actually like this width a lot. As you can see, I already put in my little cardstock there. And so now you can see kind of the way the handle sits in proportion to the basket, which I really like. And actually I'll snip this a little shorter and then I'll weave this end in. And you know, technically is the basket done? Yes, but no, because I'm gonna bring back in this color, right? Because otherwise what was the point of that? And we're gonna add a little accent around the top here. And I think it's gonna make it look super, super cute. So, and hopefully I'm gonna have enough here, which I think I will. Now I'm just gonna quickly weave this end in, and then I'll be right back to show you how we're gonna add a cute little trim at the top. Okay, so I've got my ends woven in and my basket is looking super cute. Okay, so now I just want to add a really pretty little frill along the top here. So I am going to start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right about here because I'm going to be working in through the center of all of these cross stitches. So I'm not going into the stitch. I'm going in through the center space just below the stitch. So I'm just going to place the yarn on my hook and pull it through and then slip stitch to join. Okay, just like that. And basically all we're going to do here to create a little frill at the top is we're going to chain 4. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're just going to move over to the next crossed stitch, and in that little space you will slip stitch just like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4 into the next little X space there, slip stitch. And it's as easy as that. So it's just going to create a cute little trim at the top, and it'll kind of tie in the base of our basket here. So it's just going to have a cute little scallop like that. Isn't that adorable? So we're going to do that, and I'm going to go all the way here, and then I'm going to meet you guys here because I'm going to show you how we're going to camouflage this little seam here. Okay, so I've come around the other side here, and you can see how those X'd or the cross stitches really play beautifully into this little chain scallop. So I'm here just beside the other side of the handle, and so I'm going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I'm going to work into the space right there. I'm going to slip stitch as usual, and then I'm going to chain 4 again, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I'm going to work into the space of the next X'd stitch. Whoops, my little inside is coming out. Okay, so I just kind of skip over this and into the space here of this X, I will slip stitch. Okay, and what you can see is that the scallop is just kind of going over there, and it basically camouflages the fact that there's a seam there. Now, let me do a few more so you can see the full effect. So you would continue with your 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then going into the space, slip stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, into the space, and slip stitch. Okay, so you've got a couple here. That looks adorable for an Easter basket. It definitely gives it that quintessential Easter basket look. So that is what I'm going to do all the way to the end, and then skip over across just like I did before. And when I get here, I will slip stitch to join, snip my yarn, and weave in my ends, and our little basket will be complete. So I'll be right back. Okay guys, here it is, my sweet little basket, and you can see I've filled it with treats. Now this is just candy right now. I haven't gotten my chocolate eggs just yet. But for those of you that were kind of wondering about the blue cardstock on the bottom and how it would stick out, this just goes to show you how it's going to be at the bottom so you can't really see it. And again, that little cardstock piece is optional, but you can see it gives the bottom just a little bit more structure. And look at how sweet that little scalloped edge with the crossed stitch looks. It's so, so sweet. Now, you'll notice that I actually did a little bit of an extra detail on the handle, and I still have this much left. Now, I know most of you would be happy getting through your yarn, but I don't want anything left. So hopefully I can find another project where maybe I can just use this little bit as some trim. But the good news is I won the game of Crochet Chicken. So I used up all of that leftover cream and this little mauve detail. Now, what I did here, and I didn't film this, it was just slip stitches. So once I finished the little trim, I just hopped on over here so you can see where I started here. And then I just went in and I slip stitched all the way down to this side. Now I did snip my yarn on this side, and then I picked it up again here and then slip stitched all the way to the other side. It's just a simple thing, but I think it just really adds a beautiful finishing touch. And that's just what it looks like underneath. Also really nice and neat. And then for my tails, hopefully you cannot see it because of such a good job I did. But all I did is I just kind of whip stitched underneath this mauve color here. And you can see where it thins out, and then I just snip my yarn. So I know sometimes I get questions about how to weave in ends and things like that. But I'm really happy with how that like added little color block really just makes this basket look nice and finished off. And you can see it fits nicely in my hand. There's a lot of chocolates you can put in here for a little one. So I hope that you enjoyed working on this one. It was so fun to create, and I'm really excited about gifting this to a sweet little one in my life. And you still have time to get yours together for anyone that you want to gift for the upcoming Easter season. Now, if you wanted to make this larger, as I discussed in the intro, you would just make a larger circle for your base and then work your way up. So the method would be exactly the same. So instead of 4 rounds on the bottom, maybe you're gonna do 7 or even 10, like if you want a nice big basket. The only thing is, as you work on bag projects more in our crochet series, you just wanna keep in mind, like if you've got a flat bottom, that this is fabric. So it won't maintain the integrity of staying flat like that, like it will sag. And in fact, you'll see that in next week's tutorial when we talk about our next full-on bag project in our crochet series. And of course, as I mentioned before, if you're unfamiliar with that, I'll leave a link to the playlist in the description box down below. So we will discuss kind of that issue with when you're creating a bag that is kind of meant to have a flat bottom. So that's why I always figured smaller items like this are really great way to create that. Not to say that you couldn't do this with larger projects, but it's a lot quicker and easier for a smaller project. So I'm pretty happy with this size basket, and I hope you found it easier than you might have thought to work on. So as always, if you have any other detailed questions, please do feel free to leave it for me in the comment box down below. And I know many of you do like to email me directly, so feel free to do that. You can email me at info@crochetcrafty.com. And as always, make sure to attach a photo of your work just so I can see where your problem area is or where you're having a question, and then I can have a better look at it and be able to better answer your question. And I would love it if you guys come and say hi to me. I'm on Instagram and Facebook at The Stitch Sessions, and you know what I'm going to ask you. Tag me in your projects because I want to see what colorways you decided to choose to create your sweet little baskets. Maybe you're going to do it all just one color. Maybe you're going to make a scrappy project like I did last year where you just use up all of your leftover yarn and make it super, super colorful. I always love to see all the different ways you can create the same design. So make sure to do that. And if you're new here, I hope that you've enjoyed hanging out with us today. I invite you to press that subscribe button and come hang out with me every Wednesday morning when I upload a brand new tutorial. In the meantime, next week, as I said, we're going to go back to our It's in the Bag crochet series with a brand new full-on bag project, and this one is a large size project. I know many of you have been waiting for the larger bags. This is it. So for the month of April, you'll see that next week in our first Wednesday of the month. All right, guys, happy crocheting. Have an amazing day, and remember to take really good care of yourselves. And until then, I'll see you guys in the next week's session. Bye-bye.